Hello, everyone. It is Monday, March 30th, 2026. This is episode 8 of the Building Hour, and today we're going to be reviewing the Carbonara by Crow. I'm really excited about this base. It's it's a bigger base than I'm used to. I think it's for 4 to 6 players, which is a bit larger than what I typically work with. But it's not unreasonable. I'm really excited about this base. I think Crow is one of my favorite builders right now. I like a lot of the the things he has to say and the way he goes about saying things. I think um, he does a very good job at explaining how to implement some complex things into your bases. He just released a great video on anti-siege and how all the different types of anti-siege and how to work that into your bases. While I haven't actually watched that entire video, because I haven't quite gotten to the point where anti-siege is relevant to my base designs, I will that is the video I will be referencing when I learn about anti-siege. So yeah, today just a quick announcement, stream stuff. This week is spring break, so I can stream every single day this week. We'll see if I stick to that, but that is the goal right now. I have a bunch of bases lined up. I actually wanted to start with a different base, but the base is on a weird build server. What is it? I have it written. Oh, the Rust Room Build 2.0 by GJ, which is a Russian server, and it is down for maintenance until 4 a.m. Moscow time, which is not right now. And so I had to switch over to this base, the Carbonara by Crow. So all the bases this week I'm pretty excited about. I went for a range of bases, some smaller, some larger, some more of what you would consider meta, and then some from maybe newer builders who might be a little bit less experienced. And so I'm excited to just kind of cover the whole range of everything this week. And so with that, this is, once again, we're on the Rusticated build server, so I am going to be pressing the wrong buttons over and over and over, and we're both just going to have to deal with that. This is the Carbonara. It is a small group base with online raid. Sorry, I just looked down at chat. There's Faded's last build. I think we might be talking about the same base. I'm pretty sure that it's a 1x1 with a stability bunker into the core, which I love 1x1s. That's why I wanted to start this week with that base. I'm pretty sure Wipe Dessert, that is what I was talking about. But yes, so yeah, that one we will do tomorrow, so long as I can access the server. But yeah, today we've got the Carbonara. It is a small group base. It has anti-siege built into the base, which means that in an online raid, so anti-siege is a bit of a complicated topic. And yeah, so the way anti-siege works is if you're a raider, right, you're raiding a base, the first thing, if it's an online raid you do, is you raid one of these externals. Once you get access to the external, the privilege from this external TC is able to help you build your way into the base. So you can get a raid base built up right on top, and then you kind of just you push your way into the base. You like, it's like like you're slowly working towards the main part of the base. The way you protect against it is you build. There's two main ways. You either reconnect your externals back to the main TC while you're online, and so you would do that with things like roofs if all of this is connected internally. I don't think that's the methodology here, but I don't know which methodology he is using because with these base reviews, I try not to watch the build video or learn anything about the base because I want to go through the base not knowing, and so that way I can discover the things in real time and kind of like view it from the perspective of a raider or somebody moving in on the base who has no knowledge of what is on the inside of the base as you're pushing in. But with anti-siege, it's a way of building your way in. There's a couple of ways to protect. If you build out from the main TC and kind of extend around your base, if you kind of extend your way around, it extends the building privilege, because whenever you place a block, you get 6 squares worth of distance of building privilege. And so if you, say, built foundations off of that side of the base, and then extended some walls all the way out each direction, you would cover all of your externals with the main tool cupboard building privilege. That's a very expensive technique, and if you want to learn more about anti-siege and all of that, you should just go watch Crow's video. I am not an expert in it, and I hope to learn more, but I am not there yet. It's typically a larger group concept. It's not very relevant for a solo or duo base, because your base is just not large enough to merit it. Often the main tool cupboard, or the main TC, covers so much of your base that building anti-siege it's never worth the amount of investment you have to make into it, and so you're better off without it. When you start building larger bases like 4, 5, 6 players, or when you start playing very competitive servers like Atlas 2X, that is when you start to care about things like that. And so in this base, it looks like we have 3 external tool cupboards. What's interesting is this looks like it is wide gapped, but it is connected back to the main TC, which is always cool. It looks like they went with this method where you use the 2 square blocks and connect back. And that's just because at a base this size, you really don't need more than 3 externals. If you end up building 6 external TCs, 1, it's annoying to upkeep. 2, it requires a flatter building location. Like, you need a perfectly flat build location to handle 6 tool cupboards, and it takes a long time to put down that many external tool cupboards. If you're on a competitive server, you really need to get lucky. You need to find, a minute or 2, 10 minutes realistically, where nobody is around your base. You're not killing anyone, you're not doing, you need time, or you need lots of bodies protecting you for each tool cupboard you decide to place down. Because unlike in build servers, you don't have symmetry when you're playing live. So yeah, it looks like they went with a disconnectable external, which uses this simple twig. And so the way that works is we open this, once you come through, open the doors up, remove this window, and then what you would do to disconnect this external from the main part of the base, which you would want to do if raiders break your main tool cupboard and you need to replace it, you would just break that. The stability drops away because this door frame is being held up by this twig. And so you would put that back. I don't know my commands. Okay. You'd put that twig back. And then... oh yes, something you need to do is you need to add that square. Just give it a little bit of extra stability so that it can make the connection. And then you break away that, and you would upgrade these. And so what that does is that just lets you go back and forth and disconnect it whenever you need to. Most of the time, you never need to disconnect your externals, but the more externals you have and the bigger base it is and the more player, it's a good thing to include on a base this size. Now, I say this almost every time, but I prefer the freehand external because the value you get out of having a free-handed external is it's unmatched. So in this scenario with this external, it relies to get this to a 7 rocket raid. It relies on a tier 2. There are days where I don't have a tier 2 when I log off. In fact, this Thursday I did not have a tier 2 before I logged off. So if this was my external design, I am 2 sheet doors, which is 8 satchels or 2 rockets. That is not much to raid this. And so, despite having 3 externals, you would only have 6 rockets worth of grief protection on your base, which I just don't think is very good. And it requires metal, so you have to invest metal into the door, the code lock, the other door, the other code lock. It sounds like not that big of a deal, like it's what, 1500 2K metal that you need? But for me, on wipe day, like, metal is the most precious resource, and I never have enough of it. And so, when there's a method that you can seal your TC away behind... when you can seal your external tool cupboard for no metal at all, from 4 rockets, just by practicing a skill that isn't that difficult to master, I think it's so worth it. In fact, I will show you how simple it is to build it. So you just have these foundations. You break this one, right? You put this double door frame right here. You want to make sure that this one has the conditional rotated outwards because we're trying to make this stick out a little bit extra. You just put your tool cupboard right here. You face this window backwards because you don't want this conditional. So we don't want this conditional because we want to get nice and close to that. But this one we want to push it out. I'm looking at, I wish I could point to it, the back left corner of this square, and I'm just lining it up, and I don't want the close left part of the square touching, and I'm just going to go back and forth and slightly adjust my mouse out, and then I place that, and I'm checking for 79% stability. That would, and this is it. You're looking to have a minimal gap up top. Now, that gap looks pretty big, but once you put the frame, it should go away. If it doesn't go away, just do it again. You build up triangle, square, triangle, and then build back triangle, square, triangle. You put this roof here, and then you put that frame there. And you just want to make sure that that gap closes, this still opens, and you don't see any gaps, and then you rotate this. And this is immediately a 4 rocket raid. And as soon as you upgrade it to metal, it's a 7 rocket raid, and it can be made into an 11 rocket raid by honeycombing these 2 spots, and then doing a sort of roof honeycomb like that. So it just costs stone, so it's definitely worth doing, and then you just put the window in. And now this is an 11 rocket raid external. It's, nobody will ever raid the actual external. They'll just disconnect it or raid your gatehouse. And so, I think that this is a skill that everyone should learn how to do. It is so valuable. And so you can definitely use a design like this, but considering that this is also disconnectable, the way you disconnect it is, I can't show you because I didn't build it off of a gatehouse, but you would build back squares like this, and then attach a roof. And when it connects to this, the way that stability is calculated is that it finds the shortest or the quickest path to ground to determine what the primary stability contributor is. And when you attach this roof, that is considered a shorter path than through this. And so it takes the stability from the roof, which is only 30% stable, and that collapses out. And then when you break this is now the primary stability giver again. And so that's how that works. It's called the Sartori, the mini Sartori external. So I love that design. All right, so it looks like on the external sides, we get these nice breach peaks, which, wow, that is a really tight angle. I don't think that's one that so you can shoot through it. It doesn't give you a whole lot of room to play with. I wonder if you can shoot a rocket through that. That might be why you would have that, because I don't think realistically you're ever going to get that as an angle to play from. This is really nice. I think it's nice to be able to shoot people outside of your compound. Now, what I would prefer is that breach peaks like this would be looking towards my entrance. So you'll notice that this entrance, there's no way to deal with a door camper from the compound. You would have to, you would have to just go to a different door and run around or deal with it from the shooting floor. It's a really minor thing. But now the big feature of this compound, it looks like, so we've got our single double door, great. Doors swinging inwards, nice. I like how these are faced. The goal of these gatehouse peaks right here is not to shoot into the compound, which is a little bit open. It's a nice and spacious, nice and roomy compound. These are to deal with the openings in the outer walls when those walls are breached by raiders. And so this is a really nice angle to play from. Raiders can HV rocket through there, but that is a very hard angle to play from. And they have to both deal with that angle and that Patrico right there, which brings us to that next peak. And so up here, I wonder if there's intended to be something to stand on to use this. I wonder, like, I would have this triangle right here, personally. There's nothing that's getting blocked by it. And so I would want to have this triangle so that I can play on all of it rather than just playing from this corner. But I'm not sure if this is intended for a different purpose. Oh, he uses a siren there. Okay. Someone in the chat is mentioning that he uses a siren light to stand on rather than... let's see, can I go siren light? Yeah, so that is definitely an option. I don't like that as much. I like being able to move left and right. I'm not the most comfortable PvPer, and so just having something that can handle me making like mistakes with my button presses is something I value. The jungle shelves would be a better option. Probably don't want to place them that high. Actually, the jungle shelves don't work so well because this embrasure sticks out, so you don't have a lot of room to play with. You have to be W keying forward to stay here. Yeah, so I probably wouldn't use the jungle shelves. I personally would go with this floor, and then I would put a box. I like that. That's what I would use, so that I can get the crouch spray like that through there. Alright, and I see he minimized cost by making these out of wood. I generally like that. I think stone is not something I'm ever really struggling for, so it would be okay to make that out of stone. I like this angle right here. This is pretty neat. I think it'd be great for tossing nades out of. I think that... Yeah, because this is intended as a bedroom. This is pretty clearly a bedroom. Which I really like that the bedroom can just immediately peek right there. That's cool. And this one has angles into the compound. Yeah, so these bedroom modules have angles into the compound, and you can toss grenades out of there if you get it just right, and that turret covers the shield wall, or the inside of the shield wall very well. I like this compound so far. Yeah, and then these are outwards. So yeah, from the gatehouse, you have your outwards angle, and then from the bedrooms, you have your inwards angle. That is pretty neat. And that looks like that's all we've got out here. There's a lot of room to run around. You have your shield wall, or ping wall, as some people call it, when you're able to put roofs up like that, or sorry, walls up like that to just soak rockets. Upgrade that to HQM. It's just kind of broken. There are lockers under those roofs. Oh, really? Oh, they don't show up. Supposedly there are lockers under here. I wonder if there's just no deployables in this save. Let's see. Okay, so heading into the base, this is likely a locker or drop box. I don't love this triangle jump right here. It's kind of an awkward jump, especially if you are a newer player, but I see why it exists, and that is because we are connecting back, or it looks like he's trying to socket back onto the main tool cupboard. And so what do I mean by that? Well, so you can see that we have our wall stack gap somewhere around right here, right around here. And so, yeah, so it covers that up. And what happens when you place a roof, the tip of the roof extends just a little bit further. And so if you've got your gap, right here you have your gap. By placing this here, we're actually connecting this foundation into this corner socket right here. It's a really goofy thing that the triangles do, but that's one of the main techniques in connecting externals back to the main tool cupboard so that you don't need as many externals. Although, this is upkept by a TC, and it's connected, so maybe it's not connecting? This should be socketing. Interesting, interesting. Yeah, I'll just have to move on from that, because I would have thought that this would be connecting. Maybe you need a second roof to connect with it for that to happen. That might not work on its own. And I also would have thought that this would be... Oh, there's no socket. Okay, so if this was a half wall... Yeah, okay, so it won't let me place this because this... The bottom socket of this half wall would connect to this roof, but because it's a full wall, it doesn't socket to that. So, okay, so everything I just said doesn't seem to apply in this scenario. And I think it might be because there's not another triangle roof coming back to meet it. I hope this doesn't break the base. No. If I build... No, that doesn't seem to be doing it. So I guess I don't fully understand how that works, so I'll have to do my homework on that. So yes, this is not connected back. But moving in, ignoring all that, I don't like this because it's a bit of a hard jump to make. You have to stand at the right height along it, and it's kind of hard to sprint through this jump, I find. I find it an awkward jump, so I prefer a different jump up method. But that does have the benefit of protecting that lower foundation so that you can't just, go in and raid those foundations. Let's see, we've got these kind of compound angles with that protection, so big raid bases can't look in right on you, and you can help defend any breach in the shield wall. These are really good angles if those breaches go down. And it looks like these wrap all the way around. Yeah, it looked connected to main, but it's not because, I tested that other roof and it wasn't letting me connect it. But yeah, not sure. But yeah, so it looks like this is just the shell. This is kind of cool that it's like you've got this whole shell coming in. This looks like second floor main living. This is an early retake to deal with any door campers, it looks like, or anyone who gets in through this front door when you're playing out of this initial egg starter. Does this go up? Yes, this looks like some mobility. Retake up under your 3rd floor. Good old classic stair bunker. Love a good stair bunker. Or blocker. Some people get really picky. The reason you would call it a blocker instead of a bunker... wrong direction? Nope. Where am I? What am I doing wrong with it? Why don't I see it? Oh. Yeah. Let me get this. Let me get this the right direction. Amateur hour here. Why can't I get this? There. There, and then what's the other? There, that way. Okay. It just took a few tries. The reason why people call this a blocker instead of a bunker is because of this. I can rock it down like this and kind of ignore this. That's why I like to combine. So because the mobility goes right above it, you can't use a single door, but a nice strategy to combine with this is a single door because it just blocks off more of the angle, but it doesn't make that big of a difference. I guess here I can splash a little bit further back, but realistically I do still need to raid this out in order to get through. I could just splash right here, and so if you don't upgrade this here to armored, I think the best way to raid into here, into the core to get past this blocker, if this was upgraded to armored, is to just shoot straight down and break the twig, because if you destroy that wall and destroy the twig, the bunker will open. So I think this should just be armored. Yeah, so that should just be armored. And then the reason why he had this as a frame is because if you make this out of a floor, the stair, I'm afraid to spend forever trying to get the right orientation again, but okay, we got it. The stair will be upkept if you break that, and so don't use a full floor there. You must use a triangle frame for this to work. And so we've got TC. This is a nice open little starter. Plenty of space. Plenty of space to work with. Having the stair bunker is really nice before you get garage doors, to just make sure that it is not a quick 4 rocket raid to go all the way through your doors and take you over at the start of the game. I think it's a lot less useful as the wipe progresses, especially once you have garage doors. You don't really need to bunker your main TC these days, especially because most of the time your TC is going to get raided in a pummel. The stair bunker only matters. The stair bunker really only matters in a door path raid, and door path with garage door, like, garage doors are just overpowered. Just as a quick aside, like, you should just be spamming as many garage doors as you can. The fact that it's only 2 gears and 300 metal, and you get 3 rockets that you can just open the whole door up and down, it's 3 times the raid cost of a sheet door. And going to an armored door, which is incredibly expensive, only gives you an extra 2 more rockets. So it's like, garage doors are just, yeah, they're so good. They're so broken. And then someone in the chat is talking about armored bunkers, or sorry, armored ladder hatches. And yeah, armored ladder hatches will be just better than the stair blocker, because it will functionally almost be the same raid addition. It'll add 5 rockets. You know, so not quite the 8 rockets or 15 if you were going with armored, but once again, because people so rarely go through, because people so rarely door path raid you later into wipe because of how broken garage doors are, It will just allow people to be more flexible with their designs and not rely on, because you need to have these two triangles right next to each other to use the stair blocker, the triangle stair blocker. And so when we don't need to use a stair blocker because we have these armored ladder hatches, now we can move our main mobility to different squares or triangles within our footprints. And so that'll be really cool to see. But yeah, so most raids are just going to be a pummel through the side. And so that's not that big of a deal. But this is cool. This is a pretty standard egg starter base. The egg is just the 3x3 of 2018 in that it's really nice and open. It's really spacious. You've got so much box space, deployable space. It's comfy to live in. It's really simple to throw up and not too expensive. The benefit of the egg is the symmetry is just a lot better. And yeah, having three-sided symmetry instead of the awkward square base four-sided, and then you just figure, like, and the shells are just so much easier to work with. The egg is really, really good. Retake onto this floor, nice and simple, just more space. Ooh, and it looks like oh, no, there is more mobility. So my one concern about how the mobility is right here is it's just stacked. And so the only problem I find with stacked mobility like this is it makes a door path raid surprisingly affordable. And so if I'm a raider offline raiding, you know, like offlining is hard to account for. But if I'm offline raiding, I can jackhammer this roof out, come down in, get whatever's in the vending machine, and then I just boom, 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 all the way down. And it's only 1, 2, 3. Doesn't even have a door right here. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And then you're into core. So then the blocker and whatever doors are here. So you could get to the main tool cupboard and main core loot just shooting straight down that path. But you can just shoot straight down that path. And, you know, even if you close this in rather than having that open, like if this is like that, you could still go straight down. And so I think, or what I'm trying to get at is I don't like when mobility is stacked vertically like this in the center of the base. I think it's okay when it's on the far away from the base where you still have a long door path internally, but yeah. Someone in the chat is saying that the third floor is blocked off here. And so that is actually what I would have expected out of this, is to just completely close this starter unit off and make it so you can't access. I think that immediately improves this. The other suggestion I was going to make is just to have the jump up be on the opposite side, because it just forces you through 3 or 4 extra garage doors, and just by adding, say, 12 garage doors into that raid path, it no longer becomes a viable path. I guess one thing I forgot to point out at the start of the video, or this start of this review that I usually do, is the build cost. And so it looks like 100k stone, 70k metal, and 500 HQM, 38 garage doors. That's all quite reasonable for this size of base. I'm curious what the upkeep is on the main TC. Ooh. As usually a trio player, I'm panicking at seeing how expensive this is. I don't know why, because I always have boxes of farm completely unused by the end of a wipe. Actually, I think I still have... The base has not decayed yet from the Thursday wipe that I played, and we have like 2 boxes of stone and metal left over, and so I don't know why I'm so, you know, I want to keep costs down so much, because to me this is extremely, extremely expensive. But for the group size, this totally makes sense. So yeah, where were we? We were in the core. Now I remember there being mobility somewhere up from out here. Yes, so in these three, so this is a great place for mobility on the outside edge of the base. This looks like a bunker to me. Yes, it is. Cool, so there are 3 bunkers, I would imagine, in this base. I think that's a pretty good spot for it, because raiders don't usually target mobility. And yeah, this roof is cool. Because they could theoretically blow this and then just blow straight in, and it would, you know, only be 2 walls. But because this is armored, and you don't need to armor any of the other sides, so yeah, you only need to armor one of the walls to make these bunkers extremely effective. And it's got an extra layer of honeycomb from any direction, so I'm a big fan. I like that bunker placement. It's a little bit away from the main living, and the only reason I point that out is it is hard enough to get my frickin' group to put loot into the bunkers. They just leave it all in the second floor of the Faraday 2, and if you know anything about the Faraday 2, it's not honeycombed. The second floor is not honeycombed. That's on purpose, but it is the only floor that's not honeycombed, and they just leave all of the loot on the second floor. The third floor is where you know, the bunkers are, the bedrooms are, it's kind of the shooting floor, and the workbench goes up there, or should go up there, and they just leave all the loot on the second floor behind a single wall. And then when I mentioned that there was no honeycomb, they went, oh my goodness, and then they left the loot anyway. So I don't know, it's really hard to get people to put loot into bunkers, so if any of you have strategies for making your team put loot away, or pick up after themselves, let me know. But I find it quite difficult, so I end up doing a lot of it. But yeah, so these are some great retakes onto the shooting floor. Is this an airlock? No, I think it's just a nice cost-saving tool rather than using a double door there. Ankle biter up onto roof. Is this a... Oh, this is reverse waterfall. That's cool. It's a very tall base. And then you got the ladder hatch. Close that up, and then you can make the jump. I like that, because this is usually kind of a awkward jump to make your way into. I like how crammed in here you can get. And it adds an extra door. I think one of the challenges of reverse waterfalls is often it only takes a single rocket to get access to the shooting floor, and just by adding that ladder hatch, it's a little bit more expensive to get up here, and it immediately takes you into this little compartment, which gives you a nice peek. This would be like a main defense angle. You can retake your shooting floor. So I really like this little pod at the top of the mobility chute on the side of the base. Let's see, we're on the shooting floor right here. We have wide gaps. So Grenade City, Rocket PvP, whatever it takes to save your base, you use right here. That's pretty sweet. Patrico angles with these ramps. These are really nice because you can just back up and go forwards and crouch walk all around. Okay, so the one thing with these retakes onto the shooting floor, they're not one-ways. They're not one-ways at all. It would be difficult to fit the one-way in. You would have to make the mobility right here on this side. And so I wonder It doesn't work with the bunker. So it's just something you have to do because you have that bunker. If you got rid of the bunker, which would be silly because these bunkers are awesome. If you got rid of the bunker, then you could put the mobility over here like that and have it come up through there, which allows you to block this kind of off like that, and then you're shooting from here, and now this is a one-way because you've stepped back away from that angle, and the raider just can't get a lower enough angle. But yeah, with the way it's configured right now, there's nothing you can do to make that into, actually you can't add that there because you would seal the bunker forever. So no door frame for you. This is the stair that I got rid of. Like that. Okay, yeah, so that's why. But so it is important to note that that is not a one-way, it is just a ankle biter. But it's nice having them on every side of the base. When you have that many ankle biters, it's hard to be watching all of them at once. This is a nice main loot or main living space. I think this is where I would do the majority of my active living out of. Ooh, this is neat. I know this was the weakness I was talking about when that floor was open, but this is so cool. This is a true one-way because we're stepped back away, and because the raiders can't back up. So even though it doesn't cover a whole lot of the roof, it is a true one-way, so that is cool. I like how easy it is to access these vending machines. They actually act like additional storage space. And it looks like there's room for some barrel storage. You can fight from here, so if your walls are going down, anyone gets in there. But this is just like where I would have my workbench level 3, and I would try to hang out up here a lot. It's definitely not super secure. I would want to keep most of my loot in these actual bunkers, anything that mattered. But while I'm playing, I would just want to keep it here. That's how I would be playing it. Then coming up, I don't remember how you... Or I don't see where you access the roof from. Maybe it's one of these three? No. No. Oh, I'm stupid. The mobility goes all the way up. Yeah, because we have that one way. We come up here. We're in the this little mobility module pod where we have our reverse waterfall, our angle, all the way up. I think that's... You might be able to retake some of your shooting floor, like if raiders breach that, but you still have this little module. You can access it from there. Nice little bed spot. Yeah, it looks like... So you wouldn't use that lower one as a bedroom, but this you would absolutely use as a bedroom. I would even slap an armored door on here. Turret pod. So we've got some long turrets. It doesn't look like any of the turret modules where people do this sort of thing. Where it's like super recessed back in there and kind of surrounded. This type of pod is vulnerable. If I'm on my mini copter, I can shoot right here and splash. And so I personally would go with a different setup right there. I think, oops. I don't know what I deleted. I would assume that. And so what I would do instead is I would just offset it a little bit like this. Sorry, let me turn off chat. I didn't realize I still had that on. Mute global chat. Okay, don't want to get banned from Twitch today. Something like this. And if I go, auto turret right there. I put that right there. This, you can't splash from a minicopter. You have to land on the roof and shoot up into it. Now, it doesn't get as good angles, especially if you're right off in the corner, but it does cover in front of it very, very well. So you want to combine things like this. If you use, if you do it on a square where you've got a square in front, it gets much better view angles, and it still protects really, really well from above. And so I generally recommend turret pods like that over this type of thing. This is good enough for a compound, but up on a shooting floor, I want it more protected from anybody who's flying by, because I think these are too easy to deal with. I am not very good at dealing with auto turrets. I don't really know all the secret tech about how people drain the auto turrets or like shoot them out with compound bows, that type of stuff. But I could handle these. I could handle these auto turrets. You just give me rocket launcher and HVs, and I'm just shooting right here from the minicopter. 3 on each of them. And now I have roof. Now at this base, because there's so many layers of defenses all the way down, I don't think losing the roof is the biggest deal. And because of this like central pillbox unit, I think it's really quite simple to retake your roof from this center module. Because you've got these angles right here, you've got these angles, and you've just got you've got these ankle biters, so you have so many angles to retake your roof from. I don't think raiders breaking your auto turrets and landing on the roof is not the end of the raid. Like, they do not gain control just by getting on top of it. They're going to have to open up some of those angles and kill you. But I would have gone with a slightly different I would have gone with something slightly different up top. But every builder is going to go about different things differently. It's very much a preference thing sometimes when it comes to things like that. But yeah, overall, I think this base is really cool. I love hiding the bunkers into the mobility, because raiders do not typically raid into mobility, just because it's an awkward place to raid, and usually you have your base, you honeycomb the base, and then the mobility goes outside of that. So by raiding into the mobility, you're not going into the core whatsoever, and so you're missing that entire bit. Something I really like about this base is it gives me a little bit of old school vibes. Not like proper old school, but it doesn't have a big old open core. It feels... It's got like this shell, which is cool. Now, I don't know if you can look down. Or where do you look down on the shell? Because it felt like there was a shell. So it looks like there's no peek downs from this shell. Oh, there is, right here. Oh, that's really cool. So if you come here, that's how you peek down back into this shell. So, yeah, it gives like old school vibes, because it's got this shell. It's not like a big open core. It's a traditional egg footprint. It feels kind of like a 3x3, but it's got all of these really nicely protected peaks. The reverse waterfalls at the top of the mobility chutes. So overall, this is a really cool base. I like it. Do I think it's the most meta egg base out there right now? Probably not. Now, I don't know enough about the anti-siege technology built into this base to be able to comment on how effectively or efficiently that's done. I know this is a revamp of a much older base, which would explain why it gives that old school vibes. But it's got a really fantastic shield wall, and overall, I think it's just a cool base. And so, if you've got this group size, I would highly recommend trying this base out. I'm not sure I will ever have the opportunity to build it, but if I ever roll, 6 deep, maybe I'll give it a go. I definitely would make a couple of changes up top. I don't think this is how I would structure my roof. This is a very open roof. I like it when my roofs kind of like close over me, but I also don't fly scrap helicopters often. I mean, we almost never get helicopters. We usually settle by the ocean, and so we're getting like boats rather than helicopters. So I think that's just a matter of play style. I talked about this a lot in a previous building hour, but I think it was episode 2, the Rat Keep. I prefer using triangles like this because it is half of the cost to use 2 triangle roofs like this instead of the these 2 walls, because these walls cost 200 metal fragments each, whereas let me get to the right build grade. Whereas this costs 100, and you have to deal with the roof when you go with the other method. So it's half the build cost. Why does Crow go like that? He thinks it just looks like shit. I actually asked him about it, and he was like, yeah, I just don't like the look of the 2 triangle roofs like that. And I was like, fair enough. To each their own. But if you want to save or make your base more efficient, swap these out anywhere that you use one of these Patricos. Use that instead. And so with that, that's about all I had. It shouldn't block the ping wall. Someone was worried about it blocking the ping wall. It does not block the ping wall. I did check that. I guess no, it doesn't even block that. And if you were really worried about it, you just upgrade these to a DLC, but you would likely have them on Brutalist. But yeah, so overall, really cool base. I like it. Thank you for watching if you're watching this on YouTube, and if you're watching on Twitch, I open the floor up for all questions at this point. I was paying a lot more attention to chat in this video than I typically do, and that's just because there was a lot about this base that I didn't know enough of. This is one of the bases that I think I would have, in retrospect, I would have preferred to learn about it and research anti-siege and stuff like that before running this episode, but I had planned to do a different build today, and then at the last moment, because the server was down and I couldn't access it, we went with this one. And so, yeah, I'm excited to kick off this week of the building hour every single day. I don't know, the building week. I don't know, but, well, anyhow, thanks for watching, and yeah, anyone have any questions? We are getting desperately low on phone battery, so can probably only hang out for a few more minutes before I have to wrap it up. No, you absolutely did not talk too much. I needed it with this build because there were just some weird details. Because the deployables didn't load in. Usually the deployables tell me a lot about what the designer intended, and he didn't update this, I guess, compared from the video to this version that is saved. Because I would have been super concerned about that central mobility, but if it's just sealed off, then it's not a big deal at all. And like in a save file like this, you don't see things like, oh, where do you replace the TC? Or, the little minutia about how to operate the base to make it a lot more effective, because at the end of the day, you have the blocks, but then you also have the things that you can do with them. And when you know what the goal of the base is and what everything does, you know how to adjust things slightly, or like what doors to leave open, what doors to close, so that you get the most out of the base. And so, yeah, it was helpful, since you've actually seen the full video, to give some comments or point some things out. And also, I know you're so Wipe Deserg is pointing out that, in their personal opinion, there's a major flaw that there's a lack of loot space. And so I think I agree with that. Now, if you utilize the core, like if you use here, these three central floors in the core unit, I disagree. There is a ridiculous amount of loot space. But if you're trying to live primarily out of the shooting floor and kind of this central part of the shooting floor, which is kind of like a pseudo open core, if you're trying to live out of this part of the base, I 100% agree. There is not enough loot space up here to comfortably do day-to-day living. Even if you utilize all three of these roof bunkers, you can only fit, 4 boxes of storage into these. And so, yeah, like realistically, there's not enough storage up here if you don't utilize the other floors of the base, and you wouldn't want to utilize... Let's see. I don't know. You wouldn't necessarily want to utilize this central unit after you've got the full base built, because it's kind of awkward. That's a good point. If you have barrels, this is okay, because you can fit 2 right there, 2 right there, 2 right there. You can fit 1 under each of those jump ups. Instead of these ramps, you could even use boxes. If you're really trying to maximize your storage space up on this floor, because these act as a really great thing to play from for Patrico angles. Like, this is a great height to get really good visibility. And so you could use that as additional storage. But if you don't have barrels, yeah, it's a little lacking up here. I wonder... I feel like that could be a bunker of some sort. I don't know how to do roof bunkers or pass things in or whatever, but I bet this could be some sort of thing that you play around with this. Sorry, the roof has an interesting peak too on the stone ones. What do you mean by that? Oh, this? Oh. That is cool. I wish I caught this earlier. This is a very cool peak. Yeah, that's very cool. And then this core, let's see. Yeah, it's just 2 walls to core, but on a base like this, it doesn't really make sense to spam any more honeycomb than that. The shield or ping wall will act as that extra layer of honeycomb, so... yeah, so I think that's about it for today. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys tomorrow. The goal will be to look at, I think it's called The Beast. It's a 1x1 by somebody who I will write their name down tomorrow. But yeah, so I will see you guys in the next one, and it'll be a trio base 1x1 bunker. So I'll see you then. Thanks for watching.